Hello again, it's Mr. Pete, your internet shop teacher, and welcome back. This is episode number 9 of my short subject series, which have been running too long. Originally I wanted these to be 3 or 4 minutes, but it isn't happening, so I don't know how long this one will be, but it'll be probably 10 minutes because there's a lot to cover on a short subject, no pun intended, because the title of this video is Stubby Drill Bits. Get yourself some. Let's talk about them. What are stubby drill bits? Well, they're just short drill bits as opposed to the regular jobber's length of drill bits. And the correct name for these, although I call them stubby bits, is screw machine length bits. And they have been around for a long time. I didn't discover them right away in my teaching career, but they are extremely handy in the school or any other place for that matter. And if you look in the J&L catalog, you're going to find there are 10 pages of them, of just stubby drill bits in all different materials, cobalt, coated ones, high-speed steel, carbide, left hand, right hand, and you name it. 10 pages of them. So they are widely used, or were, in Brown and Sharpe screw machines because they didn't break and they didn't need as much travel length. So there's a lot of reasons for using them. Here's a set that I acquired of stubby ones, but they are letter size. I'd like to get myself a nice set like this, although the reality is you only need some of the more common sizes. Well, how did I discover these? I like to keep my drill bit indexes in perfect order. Now there's one missing, and it's only missing because it's in the drill press over there. But when I came to the high school, you can imagine what this looked like. Nothing like this. There were 2 or 3 bits in there, and the rest were on the floor and whatnot. And it was almost impossible to maintain it like this in a school. If you've ever been a teacher, you'd know what I mean, or any other shop for that matter, because they get broken and they get buggered up shanks on them, and so it is a nightmare for a teacher, and it's probably a nightmare for you in your school. But one of the very first projects we made in the freshman class was just a little riveting exercise, so I had them drilling 1/8-inch holes. Well, I had in the first week assembled a nice set like this, and the kids were using an 1/8-inch, and of course they broke it within minutes. So you know what I did after school that night? I went over to Ace Hardware and I bought that is a 1/8-inch drill bit, thinking, that's fixed. No. Next day they broke that. So eventually I bought them in a package, and then after a while I discovered that shorter bits were harder to break. So I started using those in the more popular sizes, and they came in 10 packs or a dozen like this. These are number 30s, which is just a little over 1/8. Great for pop rivets. And you can get them in just any size that you want, including split points. So there are 1/8-inch bits. And even that would last almost 9 weeks in a school shop. But eventually I wised up and I had them drilling 3/16 holes. Because remember that a freshman, a 13-year-old boy, has no clue. They've never drilled a hole before, so they break them almost instantly. And over the years I accumulated many more, and they're in this tray here, marked stub bits or whatever, but I haven't even looked in here in years, but there's quite a few there as well. Well, I know what you're thinking. I'm too cheap to buy these. Well, I'll just make my own. I will just take a drill bit like this, and I'll cut her down, and even maybe shorten up the shank, and I'll resharpen it, and I'm ready to go. No, you're not, and I'll tell you why. For those of you that understand the geometry of a drill bit and how they're manufactured and how they're used and all of that, this will not come as new. But here's a nice little giveaway book by Cleveland. None of the companies do that anymore. Love that logo, as does Adam. But a picture here of a drill bit that I have marked. You'll find that the center part, which is called the web of a drill bit, is tapered. So it is thicker as it goes down toward the shank end, and that gives it more strength, where it's not going to break. But let me illustrate that a little more clearly here by showing you something that, well, take a look. I took the liberty of wasting a couple bits. Of course, I have at least 10,000 drill bits, maybe 20,000. They're everywhere. But I cut this one in half, pretending that I would make a stub. In fact, I kind of rough sharpened it. But this is what the original end looked like. And that's called the web, the thickness right there near the end, or sometimes the chisel point. And that doesn't do any cutting. It displaces the metal. So you need a thin web, and sometimes we even thin the web more. And I'm not going to talk about that now, but on the other end, the shank end here that I sharpened, look at how thick the chisel point is. And matter of fact, if we would measure that, we would see that it's 155 thousandths, whereas the original was about 80 thousandths. So there is a big difference, and you see the same thing here, where I have not sharpened it. See how thick it is there? So that's why you really can't make your own. It's just not practical unless you're really good at thinning the web, and thinning the web is far more difficult than just sharpening a drill bit. And if you've ever done that, you know what I'm talking about. So buy them, do not attempt to make them. So here's a stubby bit, 1/4 inch. Do not confuse it with these little starter drills that are often used on brownies. They are even shorter yet and have almost no flute, and usually ground a little bit different. But on a screw machine, the stubby bits do not tend to flex or wander like a longer jobber's length bit might do. Also, it would speed things up on a screw machine because there is not so much travel, because they're doing many operations. You might want to watch a screw machine in operation. That's in one of my really old videos about Brown and Sharpe's, which was a pretty popular video. Now let me step over to the drill press right now and show you the reasons really why I like to use stubby bits. I very seldom break a bit. Because I'm talented? No. Because I'm smart? No. Because I've broken a lot of bits in my life, and eventually you have a feel for it, how hard you can press on the drill press handle, or how hard you can push on your DeWalt battery drill. But that is acquired only by experience, and that's why in the school the boys broke so many drill bits. So I tended to design the projects with larger bits, not the small ones, because you're setting yourself up for failure. This is a half a page in a 10-year-old J&L catalog, and it's entitled Screw Machine Length Drill Bits. So these are the sets of stubby bits. They don't use the word stubby, I do. In the J&L catalog there are 150 pages of drill bits, and about 10 pages strictly on the stubby drill bits, if I can find my marker here. And I'm probably telling you more than you need to know, but it's all right here. And let me correct myself a little bit when I call these starter bits. They're actually called spotting drills. I use them sometimes because there's less likelihood of you breaking one of these than a combination center drill that has that tiny little point. I'm at the Bridgeport mill right now, and I'm sure all of you have suffered with this problem over the years. You're drilling, and then you're tapping, and then maybe you're going to ream, and you don't want to have to crank your table up and down. I do not have a power vertical. Maybe you do, and then it isn't a problem, but as you're switching bits from one size to another, it's just a pain to raise the table. So imagine here, this is a 1/2 inch bit. Look at the difference in length if you're going to be drilling, and maybe you've just changed from a cutter to the drill, and then you're going to tap, and then whatever the operations are. You don't want to have to raise and lower, although we certainly have travel here on our quill, but that's a 4-inch travel, and that may be consumed during the actual drilling operation. So that's why I absolutely love these things. And when I'm looking here at my little tap set, which I probably made 20 years ago, it isn't as big a deal in the smaller sizes, but I can see here that, remember, I have tap drill sizes, tap, and then a clearance size in all of the common sizes of threads. But I see that over the years I had put some stubby bits in there too, because I was frustrated and I probably had a temper tantrum is what happened. I think I'll wrap this video up because I've talked enough about stubby bits and why to use them. But in the comments, let me know if this has ever been a problem for you, or do you use stubby bits, or are you now have you now made a decision where you're going to buy some? Because again, don't try to make your own. Oh, you can, but you won't like it. So in the next video, I probably want to talk about stubby reamers. Because, you know, reamers, jobber length reamers are just a pain in the neck because they're so long compared to the drill that you just used. And that is also frustrating from thinking about the clearance and the distance that you have right here. Now that's probably not so bad on a regular drill press because you can very quickly raise and lower that table just by unclamping it, unless of course you have the crank style. Alright, that's enough talking here. It's Mr. Pete saying so long for now, and be sure and watch all of the videos in my short subject. And I have a playlist for that. See you next time.